the reality of what we're facing is big. And how do we begin to make a difference on a small scale that can have so much impact? The take from that one day of them saying, let's get everybody together, and so many of them saying, we feel like a person. We feel like we're actually not forgotten anymore. That is huge. And I looked at the one gentleman in those photos that, he took a bullet in the war, and yet he feels forgotten, not just by his country, but by his community. Like, he did an act of service, and yet he feels forgotten. How many more veterans are there around the world that they served their communities, they served their countries, and they feel forgotten? And yet for him, he at least has crutches and he has one leg that works, and so he can at least get around, and he's figured out how to be kind of functional in society. But he still feels forgotten. He feels like he's not identified as a human anymore. And the little boy in the picture was hit while he was going to school on his bicycle. We're not talking a kid that's just out playing in the street, that was on drugs, that was being promiscuous. We're talking a kid that's trying to do well in his education. He's going to school, he's hit by a car, it's a hit and run. Now his bicycle is destroyed and he's left crippled. And society now sees him there as being less than. So his mom leaves him. She's gone to South Africa. Dad's nowhere in the picture, and he's living with grandma. He's living with grandma, and he's going, I'd love to go to school. I want to learn. How do we begin to give him access? How do we begin to help him have the resources he needs to further his education? From that one day last week, he was going, somebody didn't forget about me. People care. God cares. And I think that that's what's amazing, is that God cares. In John 9, where the community and the Pharisees are looking at this family and they're saying, who sinned? Did the boy sin? Did his parents sin? Whose fault is it? And they're constantly pointing, wanting to know who did wrong as to why the child is the way they is. Whose fault is it? And Jesus says, no one, it's no one's fault. And it's that reminder that we live in a fallen world. It's no one's fault. And could we blame people along the way? Could we say, oh, well, it's the hit and run, or it's the bullet, or it's this situation? But at the end of the day, that doesn't help them move forward. What helps them move forward is them saying, like, here's God's love, here's how we can help you, and here's how God sees you as a whole person and full of life and able to move forward. And God has a plan and a purpose for your life, even in your situation, even in the midst of what you're going through. You can still be important to Him. In the midst of all of this, they were willing to come together. They were willing to meet together and say, yeah, I'm disabled. I'm different than everybody else. But they could come to that situation, come to that day at the church and go, but today I'm loved and I'm a part of a church community and I'm seen by God. Where Jesus says, I'm Elroy, I see you. Right where you are in the midst of your circumstances, I see you. And so just to help them in that moment to know, like, they're seen. They are seen right where they are.